everybody, welcome back to another Dre Sanchez YouTube video. This is going to be somewhat of a tutorial style video today here. We are in the Syria map, and this is actually a mission that 104th Money actually came up with. However, we've added some different elements in here, and we're going to be doing some Black Hawk flying. We are in a safe area right now, so there are no enemy threats as far as our location in the combat zone. We are definitely behind, or I should say in front of the enemy lines, meaning that we're not in the enemy zone. So what we're doing today is we are going to be flying over to Beirut to pick up some supplies to bring back here so the trucks can come and pick them up here. This is kind of the rally point, so we'll do the first leg, come back. It'll be a full instructional tutorial about using this Black Hawk. And let's go ahead and get on board and get up out of here. Alright, so as soon as you come on here, guys, you F1 back into the bird. You're always going to come to the primary pilot side, which in this aircraft, unlike fixed wing aircraft, is on the right side. Typically fixed wing aircraft, the pilot in command, or the captain anyway, of the vessel or the aircraft is on the left side, but in this helicopter world it is the right side. Okay, we're going to ignore that. That's for where the behind enemy lines area is at. So you guys can see here, aircraft is cold and dark, and we need to get it up and running. Now, for whatever reason, from this side, as you can see, it's a little harder to see these switches up here. Even if I could probably do it from here, but there's going to be some other switches that are easier to view from the co-pilot side. So let's switch over here simply by pushing the number 2 on your keyboard, and let's get some power on here. Before we do so, you can see all the doors are closed and secured. You can see we do have our 2 gunner seats here, a configuration. For whatever reason, the grass comes through on the textures here. That's funny. And then you see you got 4 seats in the back. So let's go get these medical supplies. So we'll first right click the battery on, the APU generator on, which is not on now, and then our generators 1 and 2, we'll turn them on as well, even though they're not, the engine's not currently on. That's just to have them in a configuration so that they are ready. Additionally, we can come here and turn on some of our lights. So we want to turn the light to daytime, flash to steady, and we want that to bright. And let's go ahead and turn on our cabin lights as well and get the APU started up. Now you'll notice the APU, once it's on, it'll be down here. Here's the rest of your annunciator panel here, that we will address these issues here shortly. Okay, the APU's on, the APU generator's on. You can see we brought up some other avionics. Now we need to also activate the bleed air for the engine to have the air to start the turbines. Now we're going to move over to where the fuel needs to be introduced. So right click to bring those up. You can also go over here to crossfeed if you wanted to, but I fly direct from the tanks. And then now we are going to start the left engine by simply pushing that button in, and left or right clicking this to move that power lever so fuel can be accepted into the engine. You can see on the N2, things are starting to happen here. Also, our oil pressure is coming up, and as well as the engine temperature. Not to mention the noticeable prop actually turning. Okay, we're just going to wait till the N2 stabilizes. Right there at about 600, we can go ahead and start the second engine, same process. You're going to push in the start button up here, and then you can left or right click. Either one, it doesn't matter, it'll bring it forward. And then, like myself, I have my power levers slaved to my H.O.T.A.S X56. Okay, there goes pressure coming up. Now while that's happening, we can get our stabilator control all on. So that's going to turn all 4 of these on here, along with the boost, and it will extinguish some of the things up here. Now the engine starter is still on because it's still in the start process, but that'll extinguish as well. And we'll get ready to power the helicopter up here in a second. Okay, you can see the start process is done because it came off the annunciator panel, and now we just have the left and right or 1 and 2 generators that will also extinguish once we bring our power levels up. So this time I'm going to bring the power levels up. And like most rotary aircraft or helicopters, once that power level is up, you pretty much don't touch it through the rest of the flight. You can see now that the AC and DC voltages are and amps are adequate, so that extinguishes, and now we can turn the APU off. So first, let's go ahead and turn the APU generator off, as well as the bleed. And now we can turn the actual APU off. Now let's go ahead and run back over here to the primary pilot side and get our navigation set up. But before we do that, let's go ahead and turn this up to the power position, which is going to power our radar warning system basically. And now of course we need to worry about our navigation since we are using a flight plan today. So we're going to take this lower knob, the mode, and we're going to put it into Latin Lounge. You can also do military grid squares as well, but I like to fly in Latin Lounge. This is going to come up here on our basically our DED readout. We're just going to enter twice, and now it says our wind direction, our speed, our directions and bearings, and up here will be the actual waypoint, which we have not selected anything yet. We'll leave this down here, and this basically gives the information on our flight plan varying stuff. Right now we have it on wind, speed, and all that good stuff, but if you look here a little closer, you can get other information up on here, time to target, all that stuff. But we'll leave it as is. Now in order for us to get our flight plan navigation assistance information using the lateral and vertical bearing indicators here, we have to make it so that this is reading, our instrumentation is reading what mode we selected. In order to do that, the first thing you're going to do is hit this Doppler thing indicating that we want to follow the Doppler GPS and indicating that it's a nav mode. And now you can see that we have the lateral avionics information here, and the PFD has come alive. But we're still at the waypoint here. You can see it's 0.0 kilometers. So in order to shift through your waypoints here, you have to use increase and decrease, which are the bottom left keypads here. Okay, now we have steer point 1 weighed in for Beirut. It's 33.8 nautical miles. And we do have the rest of the information that we need on. Let me see, I accidentally pushed a button. Let me see what that button was. Okay, oops. There we go. We want to make sure that's on steering point. Okay, so everything looks good. Now we just need to turn on our comm radios. One right click here, 2 right clicks on these 2 radios. And then if you were using NDB and ADF flying, you would use this radio. If you're doing ILS or VOR, you're going to program it into right here. And then of course you will be making the changes up here when you're flying those. Of course, if you were flying ILS or VOR, you would select this. If you were doing ADF, you would select this. Pretty easily done. And now it's time to get out of here. Keep the video as brief as possible. On a last note, if you were interested in using your helmet display, you could turn it on and you could see that there's the information in there. I typically tend not to use it unless there's a reason to use it. Alright, so the helicopter's all good to go and we are ready for takeoff. We are going to go to Beirut and pick up some supplies. There are personnel and actually spectators that will be watching this. So let's get there and see what that looks like. We're going to come up nice and smooth. You want to come up nice and smooth. Alright, we're going going to go ahead and pick up a little speed now before we initiate our turn. Now we're going to be turning off. To our destination here. Just getting her stable. See, we got some terrain here to go up. So we're always going to pick the best areas to come up. Now, since you don't have the helmet mounted display, you do want to verify your torque percentages, which is here. This is your vertical speed indicator. This is your radar altimeter, and this is your barometric. This is your HSI. And our goal is to put the aircraft or the helicopter on course with this one and also line it up here. And of course, our speed is here. We're approximately almost at 125 knots right now. If you want to see the information on the helmet mounted display, you can see that here. You can see the actual speed, ground speed, and this is going to be, and you can match it up. This is our barometric altimeter here. This is our heading. So it's pretty simple, and this is showing that we are in pretty much stable flight with this centered here. And of course, this little chevron here is supposed to be indicative of our correct bearing here. So anyway, like I said, I don't fly with it that often, but you could. Alright, we're clearing the terrain, so now we can kind of turn more on course. And if you look down here as well, this second needle would be if you had a, using some other type of navigation where you could also have a primary and a secondary, basically range information or navigation. Now, if we wanted to be directly on course, let's fly and get this centered up, and then also make sure it centers up with this. And you'll see the one in our primary flight direction or primary flight display, it will change. So watch, we'll come off, and that just means we're not probably fully aligned. Now watch, if we come back to it, see that lateral line, see it switches over now, so we're basically just kind of waking it up. So I would recommend the one you primarily pay attention to is going to be this one here. Okay, now that we can clearly see all of the terrain, we can go ahead and start a slight descent. All these doors do open up. You can open it up, close it. Same thing with the other side. Same thing with the gunner's door. They open up. course, if you read your barometric altimeter here, you can see it gives you a nice easy read. We're at 5,300 feet descending, and then you can see where on that spectrum of that altitude that you are crossing. This basically gives you the whole and then the, you know, 100th indicator there. So it's pretty easy to make it pretty easy. Okay, as you can see, we are 11 kilometers out. This is probably more like 7 miles away. Alright, so we'll arrest some of our descent with addition of collective. Alright, we're also going to do our best to start arresting that speed as well. Okay, we'll continue our descent and arrest some of that speed there at the same time. Okay, now you're going to start seeing our radar altimeter come up. Usually does it right at about 1,500 feet below. We're now at 1,300 feet. And now that's going to give you a good digital indication of what your actual above ground altitude is. Steady, steady, steady. You can see the city of Beirut here. Now normally you could come in faster if you wanted to once you get more experience. I'm making the approach nice and slow for this tutorial video so that you see at the beginning at least how you can control it instead of coming in way too fast. You come in nice and easy. Okay, you can clearly see vehicles down there with the containers right off to the right. Okay, we're just arresting some of that speed. Remember, we're coming in nice and controlled here. Our goal is to land on that yellow line. Gotta watch out for ground objects, of course. Alright, we are down. There are the folks there. I'll maybe set it down a little harsher. And there's the containers. And there's the trucks, which is simulate now that the actual pilots, co-pilot have gotten out. Crew chief, everybody's working to get the supplies on there. All right. Consider everything loaded up, and let's return back to where we came from. Okay, so don't forget, now that we're here, we need to get it back to our origin, and in this case, we could just literally decrease this by 1, and it's going to take us back to 0, which is our place that we started, and there you go. So now we're going to get up and get back to where we started to do these meta supplies. So sayonara, good folks. Supplies came in. We're out of here. They come up nice and easy, of course. Alright, enough of that. Now we're going to go ahead and make our turn. Alright, and we are headed back to Cali, so to speak. Our airspeed is picking up, and this time we're pretty much going to do map of the earth. We'll stay nice and low. Now there are scripts where in this very same mission too, where you can actually use the CTLD commands in order to actually put cargo and stuff back here. But for this tutorial purposes, we're just simulating that we picked up various medical supplies. So because we're going to be flying so low to the ground, you have to be really useful with the collective. Kind of get more on course here. Go ahead and fly map of the Earth here, right on course. Remember not to, like for example, we're at 88%. Remember not to over torque your engines. And what we're going to do is we're going to fly this little gap over here. So we're going to offset our heading right now. Nice and smooth. And we are cruising right along, bringing the supplies back to the initial point. Don't forget to manage your collective, otherwise you will smack into the terrain. now we get to go on the roller coaster down. Alright, it's pretty fun making these descents. Alright, now the wind is basically out of the south, so we'll be making a right turn for landing. I do have the camp visual. See here, we're 0.3 kilometers out, so it's time to go ahead and bring her into a slowed down mode, as well as we descending. So this one we came in a little faster. You can see there's the camp right up there to the right. Alright, we're kind of sliding over now. Let's get back to where we can do a nice turn. Okay, we're lining the camp up now, guys. Come into our landing zone. Slow and steady wins the race on this one, guys. Slow and steady. her up.
Alright, let's go take a look at our work. And as you can see, pretty much did a good job of landing her relatively close to where we took off. And now we can download those medical supplies. I'm also going to test something out here just to make sure that I can refuel here, because I have built this FARP as an invisible FARP, and I think I was missing the command and control tent, so let's see if it allows us to refuel here. We're at 78% fuel.
Request refueling. Request rearming.
Okay, so for whatever reason, this helicopter's, this Black Hawk mod does not like to refuel here, so we'll go check this other base that's close by, and that's where we'll end the video there. So let us get the doors closed back. Let's jump back on board. And let's see which waypoint it is. I'll tell by, I think it's this one here. Yeah, off in the reverse direction, that's it. Okay guys, let's go there and see if we can get fuel over there. And that's when we'll shut down. Remember, nice and easy off the space here. Alright, pretty much almost on course here. And we don't need to fly so high. As you can see, we're on course here and it's not far, so we pretty much fly pretty low and come in and see what we got over there. Now, the thing that always, at least anyway, that I'm practicing on this is the controlled takeoffs, landings, and obviously your initial turn and climb out of whatever area you're at. Let's get a little bit of altitude here. So we got some of these power lines. Looks like we may not be able to clear right now. See if we can start getting the visual on the base. Alright. Okay, I think I'm getting a visual on the base. We got about 9 kilometers. I do see the runway. Let's line ourselves up with it. So we'll come in over the runway. We'll basically do a nice little slow hover taxi. Alright, we are fully lined up. We are looking good for sure. Just easing it in. Okay, so we're going to get a little lower over the runway here, so we can make it an official hover taxi. There are no incoming or outbound aircraft, so we're going to just basically get nice and low and taxi right in over the runway. Nice and controlled. Alright, no more shenanigans. We're nice and low enough. And part of doing this is going to teach you how to control the aircraft so that you make it do what you want to do and land where exactly you want to land. And I will admit, flying this Blackhawk is easier than flying the Apache for sure. As far as flying with, you know, not in utilizing any weapons or anything of that nature. So yeah, we're just doing a nice slow taxi here, hover taxi. Okay, so there's where we're going to park the bird over there. So let's lose a little bit more altitude. There we go. Okay, we'll follow the line here. We're a little bit out of whack there, it's okay. That's why we're practicing this. So I still even need a little bit of work as far as, you know, making those turns a little better. I've only been flying this helicopter for, let's say, 2 weeks, so like legitimately, if that. Okay, our goal is to park on that little yellow line here. Close enough to it. We're almost there. All right, let's take a look. We're definitely on the yellow line with our back tail wheel almost pretty much there. So that's pretty much it, guys. And now we'll shut down, and then I'll see if they allow us to refuel here. So shutdown procedure is pretty simple. Let's go ahead and get our APU on. Remember, we got to get the APU generator back on. And if we needed our bleeds on, we could just turn those on as well. Let's verify that the APU is on, which is down here. It is. Now we can take our nav and take everything off here. Let's bring those power levers back. Let the engine start spooling down. And that is off. Radio's off. 2 clicks. 2 left clicks. RWR information off. Let's get our SAS off. Alright folks, now we can go ahead and kill the fuel. 2 left clicks. And turn our power levels off. We'll say at this point the aircraft is stopping all of its power to the rotors and the engine and the turbine. Let's go ahead as well and get our lights back on. Alright folks, now we can start, let's get that APU off again now. Turn the bleed off. APU is spooling down. Let's turn the generators off, even though they weren't on anyway because the engines were not providing sufficient power to keep them charged. And now we can go for full shutdown. And now the million-dollar question is, will it let us rearm and refuel here? And I think it will. Just hit this ground crew. Basically, I just needed to say copy, and that'll let me know that I'm able to rearm and refuel, at least on these friendly bases.
Request refueling. Request rearming.
Okay, cool. So it does.
Copy.
So they are going to refuel us here, and I don't know why at the FARP it just doesn't like it, or like if I land this thing on LHA, it won't do it. But folks, nonetheless, this is the UH-60 Lima Blackhawk. I still have a lot of work to do in it. I haven't been able to do live streaming lately, just simply because of my hectic schedule. But on the odd hours, I can just get a quick video in like this is what I'm going to do. And you can see that we have been refueled. Again, also practicing landing where we want it to land and doing what it needs to do when we ask it to do it. Takeoffs and the initial turnout to the appropriate course heading is always going to be something that I'm working at, as well as, you know, controlled turns. So guys, it's your boy. It's been real. Thanks for watching, man. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, and for sure, be kind to yourself, be patient, do the same to others, and you'll be all right. God bless y'all.
Rearming complete.